Hey friends, it's Laurie. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today, I'm making two St. Patrick's Day inspired wreaths. Once again, I used mostly Dollar Tree supplies. I really hope you like them, so let's get busy. Getting started, I'm using just about 3.5 rolls of the 6-inch white mesh, along with 6-inch green and white mesh, and these all came from the Dollar Tree. I'm cutting all my mesh at 8 inches, and to make it quicker and easier, I cut out an 8-inch piece of cardstock. I'm wrapping my mesh around the cardstock and then cutting it off at both ends. After I have the white mesh cut, I then follow the same instructions for the green and white mesh. To hold my mesh curls together, I'll be using 24 of the green chenille stems. You can find them at the Dollar Tree and you don't need to use green. Any color will work as long as you pull the curls together tightly. I'm folding all 24 in half and cutting them, so I end up with 48 chenille stems. To make my wreath bunches, I'm first starting with a piece of the green and white mesh. At one end, I start rolling it into a loose curl and then I just tuck it behind my finger. And now I'm following the same instructions for a piece of white mesh, starting at one end and just rolling it into a loose curl. With that complete, I'm now rolling my last piece of green and white mesh. To attach the bunch together, I'm placing the half piece of chenille stem over the center of the curls and then just twisting it together tightly. I'm making 24 of these bunches, and for my next 24, I'll be starting with a white curl, a green and white curl, and another white curl. And now once again, I wrap that half chenille stem around the center, pull it tightly, and twist it on the bottom. Now that I have a bunch of them made, I'm going to add them onto this round 14-inch wire wreath form that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. Adding them on is super easy. I'm first wrapping the two chenille stems around one of the center supports. I then twist the two stems together tightly and then just fold over the excess. I'm now adding on my next bunch, and I'm wrapping the two chenille stems around the two center wires. I once again twist the stems tightly, fold over the end, and then from there I just continue on adding my bunches. For this project, I made the two sets of mesh bunches. I made 24 of the two green and white with the white, and then I also made 24 with the two white and one green and white. With that being a total of 48, and there are 6 sections on the wreath form, so I'm adding 8 mesh curl bunches per section. As I'm adding them, I don't have any set pattern. I'm just attaching the different bunches. With the mesh part of the wreath complete, it now has a nice balance of both colors. One thing about the Dollar Tree mesh is it does tend to fray. I give mine a heavy coat of hairspray and then I dry it with my hair dryer. It's not a perfect fix, but it definitely helps. If you're new to my channel, please consider clicking on that little red subscribe button below, leaving me a thumbs up, and to all my returning friends, I'm always so happy to see you. As one of the accents on my wreath, I'm using this large sparkly shamrock from the Dollar Tree. I removed the hanger, and I'll also be using one of the Shamrock derby hats, and this came from the Dollar Tree as well. I picked up this pretty 1.5-inch wired plaid ribbon from Michael's, and I'm using it to accent around the hat. I used my hot glue gun, added on some glue, and then just attached it around the hat, covering the original ribbon. With the hat complete, it's now time to add both pieces onto the wreath. I'm first finding my placement of the shamrock on the wreath and then attaching it in place with my hot glue. I'm now finding the placement of the hat. I'm adding it across from the shamrock, and once again, I'm attaching it in place with my glue gun. I'm adding on a ribbon accent, and I'm using a 2.5-inch wired green plaid, a 2.5-inch wired shamrock, and a 1.5-inch wired plaid ribbon, and all three of these came from Michaels. I'm also using a 1.5-inch white ribbon, and this I had on hand. I'm measuring 2 ribbons per roll, excluding the 1.5-inch plaid ribbon, and I'm cutting each at 12 inches. Now that all my ribbons are cut, I'm dovetailing the ends, which is super easy. You just fold the ribbon in half and cut away the end at an angle. For the bow accent, you'll need a clip, and I'm just using one of these that I found at the Dollar Tree. And now I'm using my 1.5-inch plaid ribbon. I'm measuring it at 10 inches and then sliding it down to the 1-inch mark. I'm now pinching it at 8 inches, making a loop and sliding it down to the 1-inch mark. And then once again, pinching it at 8 inches, making a loop, and now giving myself a 10-inch tail. Now I'm using my clip to hold the center of the bow. With that complete, I followed the same instructions and made one more. And now, just like the ribbons, I'm dovetailing the ends on both of my bows. To attach my bows together, I'm using half of a 12-inch piece of floral wire. I'm layering my ribbons, placing the plaid on the bottom, the shamrock in the center, and the white on the top. I'm then folding them in half to find my center. I give it a little pinch and then add the 1.5-inch bow on the top using my half piece of floral wire. I open the loops and give it a little fluffing, and when I'm done, I then make one more. Now that I have both sets complete, they're ready to add to the wreath. I'm attaching my first bow in between the shamrock and the hat, and I'm simply placing the 2 wires around the 2 center wires on the form. Now that it's in place, I'm opening the loops and spreading out the ribbons. I'm taking the 2 10-inch tails, and on each side, I'm making a slight loop and tucking the ends down in between the mesh. The mesh held mine in place, but you can hot glue them if you like. I'm now turning the wreath around and following the same instructions as I did for my first bow. For the center of my bows, I'm using 2 of the small sparkly green shamrocks from the Dollar Tree. To attach them, I place some hot glue in the center of each bow and then just pop them into place. I'm making an accent bow for the hat, and I'm using a piece of the shamrock ribbon. It's about 18 inches long. I turned it over and then folded both ends into the center. I then added some hot glue to hold them in place. I'm now using a short piece of the same ribbon that I wrapped around the hat. I used my glue gun to attach one end of the ribbon onto the back. I then pulled the ribbon tightly around the front to make 2 side loops and attached it in the back. I gave the glue a minute to set up, and then I just opened up the loops. I placed some hot glue on the bottom of the bow and then just attached it onto the hat. To finish up, I'm using a gold coin from this Dollar Tree St. Patrick's Day carnations. I added some hot glue to the center of my shamrock and attached it in place. And with that, this St. Patrick's Day wreath is ready to hang. I'm starting my shamrock wreath by using one of these round 14-inch wire wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. They usually come in green, but I found this one in gold. I need something to attach my shamrocks to, so I'm using one roll of the Dollar Tree green mesh. I'm starting at one of the middle supports and I'm just adding on some hot glue, placing down the mesh, and then starting to wrap it around the form. I add a bit of hot glue here and there to help hold it in place. I used the green mesh to wrap my form, but you can use ribbon or fabric or pretty much anything you have on hand, as long as it's green and will blend with the shamrocks. To finish up, I cut away the excess mesh and hot glued the ends onto the form. For the shamrocks, I'm using 7 bunches. Mine are in assorted colors and these came from the Dollar Tree. I'm using my clippers and clipping each shamrock stem free from the bunch. With all of them clipped, I then assorted my piles into the 4 colors. I'm starting with the dark green shamrocks and attaching them to the wreath with my glue gun. Once I have them in place, I hold them down for a couple of seconds to let the hot glue set up. I'm now working my way around, adding on the variegated light green and dark green shamrocks. I don't have any set place to attach them. I'm just filling in the open spaces. After I have pretty much the outside of the wreath covered, I'm now moving to the inside and filling in those open spaces. With all of those in place, I'm now using the light green shamrocks and the shamrocks covered in gold glitter. To add these to my wreath, I'm removing the shamrock bunches from the main stem. Now that I have all these shamrock bunches, I'm simply filling in all the open spaces on the wreath. As I'm adding on the shamrocks, I'm doing my best to keep the wreath in a rounded shape. While you're adding them, if some of the shamrocks stick up or are not exactly where you want them, just snip them off and attach them in another place. With all my shamrocks attached to the form, I'm now working my way around the wreath and I'm just fluffing them up. Now that I'm done, I'm going to make this a simple wreath and I'm only adding on a bow. And if you follow me, you know that I love to add on accents, but This time I'm having some self-control and I'm just making a bow. I'm using this pretty 2.5-inch wired shamrock ribbon along with this multi-green wired plaid ribbon, and both of these came from Michaels. And I'm also using this green wired sheer ribbon that's 2.5 inches, and this came from the Dollar Tree. I'll be using my bow maker, and I picked this up a while ago on Amazon. I'm starting with my green plaid ribbon. I'm giving myself 2 10-inch tails and 4 5-inch loops. I'm now adding on the green sheer ribbon. Once again, I'm giving myself 2 10-inch tails, but this time I'm giving myself 4 4.5-inch loops. I'm now adding on that pretty shamrock ribbon. I'm giving myself 2 10-inch tails, but this time I'm giving myself 4 4-inch loops. To attach the bow together, I'm using a 12-inch piece of floral wire. I'm placing it over the center of my bow, pulling it tightly and then twisting it in the back. And when I'm done, I just start fluffing out the loops. I'm now cutting off about a 3-inch piece of the shamrock ribbon. And I'm folding both sides into the middle. I'm placing some hot glue in the middle of my bow and then wrapping the folded ribbon around the center. I'm now adding some hot glue to the back of the bow and attaching the 2 ribbon ends. To finish off the tails, you can dovetail them if you like. I'm going to cut mine all off at an angle. With my bow complete and to attach it to the wreath, I'm placing the 2 floral wires around the form and then twisting them together tightly in the back. And with that, this pretty St. Patrick's Day shamrock wreath is complete. Here we are at the end of the video, and I really hope you enjoyed making these 2 St. Patrick's Day wreaths with me. If you're new to my channel and you're thinking, hey, I'd like to come back and hang out with her again, don't forget to click that little red subscribe button below. If you're looking for more home decor and seasonal ideas, along with some wreaths and even gnomes, be sure to check out the playlist. I'll have them linked at the end of this video. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody!